All right, welcome back once again. You should have just finished up the rigging that we were working on earlier, just days ago even. One of our amazing students who is working along with us introduced me to a YouTube video where basically the guy had it all together. He knew what he was doing a whole lot more than we did, and showed us a quicker, easier, and much more painless way of rigging this character just by one or two little pieces of Maya that I just wasn't aware of. So we're going to do really quickly here, hopefully, is we're going to go back and reopen the character we just rigged. We're going to undo a lot of the junk we just did, and we're going to try it again using the new shiny, the new hotness. And this should give us a much better animated mesh. It's going to show us a few steps that we missed, a few steps that we didn't know were there, and if it keeps us from the tedious task of painting pixel weights, vertex weights on everything for the skinning, then that's going to make life much better. Um, it used to be a lot harder to do all this stuff, and it doesn't have to be, so why should we make it hard for ourselves? So all right, I'm going to go back in here to Maya. I'm going to go open up the most recent file I had open, um, which is Toon Guy 17 for me. Don't save. And here's what we had. Actually, really quick, let me highlight another problem that we were having on Saturday. And I don't know if any of you guys have run into this particular problem yourselves who are just viewing online. I know a few of us in the class did. So I've got this model. I'm going to just move them around, whatever. And then I decide I want to open another file or reopen this file. So go up here to File, and then Recent Files. I'm going to say, hey, open up this guy. Don't save what I've got. And of course, it doesn't do it now. Let me go back to 16. The one time it doesn't do this, Maya would make a liar out of me. I'm going to go back, Recent Files, 17. This just did this to me moments ago. Okay. Anyway, what would happen, which is just infuriating. What would happen is half of our mesh, half of our bone structure would just kind of like almost droop, like the whole side of the body had gone numb, bones would be falling out, the mesh would be all messed up, and no matter how many times we tried to resave and reopen the file, um, it kept getting messed up. The problem really was that Maya itself had gotten messed up, and so I had to close Maya completely, which is a good command Q on a Mac, or just completely Xing it out on your Windows PC. File, quit Maya, whatever you want to do. And once we quit Maya completely and came back, the bones lined themselves back up. It was just an artifact, a bug in the program where it didn't know how to resolve the bone placements because it still had something left over from the file that it just had open. Anyway, long story short, too late. We're going to go back to this. Here's our file. Here's our guy. The good news is we scaled our Toon Guy character up, and so if we drop a new bone structure in here, we won't have to do any of that again. So we're going to go in and undo what we did. So I'm going to open up the outliner here. Holy moly. Zoom back out. And I'm going to grab the character reference, just basically everything to do with this model. I may want to unbind skin. I'm going to unbind skin real quick, so it doesn't rip these bones out and just take it all with it. So we've unbound it. I take this original reference, get rid of it, and we're gonna hopefully get through this fast. Do it again. All right, I'm gonna get rid of the outliner for now. We've got our model. Turn that off. Okay, I want a skeleton, and we just dropped one in. Got a brand new character 1. And we're just going to start moving him around like we did. I think the hips we're going to drop a little bit lower. So I'm just going to drop that down not too much lower. And we'll do as we did before, and we'll start moving these bones into place where it makes sense with this character. I don't know what difference it makes in some of the other tutorials we've seen, but it looks like they kind of flatten out the foot. So we'll go with it. We'll move this out. We've got a foot. We've kind of done all this before. Shouldn't be too surprising. Leg looks good. Move that up. Out. Again, this character we're working on has a wide stance, so I'm going to pull that out. I didn't split the difference on my spine, so I'm going to go back and do that. And by the time we've done this a good number of times, we should be pretty good. Move that back. We preserved our earlier setting where we only had 3 fingers. We turned off the pinky, so we'll go ahead and roll with that. This should all be as it was before. It's about where the elbow is. So that's wrong. We want that back here. There, and there's the elbow. Once again, the hand should be the worst part. I've done this so many times in the past few days. Something like that. I will link to the other video that kind of clued us in on a lot of our mistakes and opportunities. That video should be entertaining to watch. He's got some cool background music and, of course, a British accent, which I could approximate for you, but would be slightly distracting. Anyway, so it's a good video, and in that he's working on another familiar character to many of us. And it's definitely more humanoid, and so he's not having to do quite as many alterations to the skeleton in order to get it to fit in his mesh, because it's a little more of a realistic-ish humanoid, and not this exaggerated chubby toon fellow. So I'm going to go ahead and link to both of those videos in this assignment. You can watch how quickly that guy goes through his tutorial. Really, start to finish, he probably does this whole thing in, like, I don't know, 7 minutes, 8 minutes, and then spends the rest of his time talking about dropping it into Unity and much more advanced topics. So give that a watch. Really, that should be enough instruction for you. I just wanted to kind of prove to myself that this could be done. with our character. Those seem a little high. Let's move the hand down a touch. All right, that shouldn't affect too much. Another thing, that other video gave us was an interesting take on where to place the head. Since we're going to be doing so much alterations as we did in the last video, we're just basically attaching this almost action figure-like head. We don't want it to move with anything except the one head node. What we're doing here may not matter, but we'll go with it. So the instruction there was to put the neck kind of right behind the jaw here, and then make sure that's what we got. Sure enough, that's the neck, and then the head about center, just above and behind the eyes, which I think is what we've got. So that's good. Here's the magic. Here's the magic. So rather than deleting and mirroring over and then renaming and all this other jazz, here's what the other video had us do. We grab that little hand, and then this little button right here. This is mirror left to right. Slap that button, and then what in the world just happened? That wasn't nearly as magic as it's supposed to be. We undo. What happened? What if I grab the whole thing and mirror left to right? It's not giving me an error, but when I tell it to mirror, it grabs the head node. This is why we test these things. Okay, undo all the selecting, move the head, that's good. Do I lock that first? Lock that definition and then mirror. There it is. Okay. That did it. So I locked in the definition using that cool little lock of all things. And then was actually able to mirror the entire skeleton from left to right, which looks cool. Okay, that looks good. Classic moment of increment and save. I'm really going to have to clear off some hard drive space. All right, here we go. We mirrored, hopefully without any side. Okay, well, so I tried to skin just a second ago and crashed. So that was fun. Try this again. So luckily I incremented and saved when I did. Let that be a lesson to me and, whoever else. All right, back to the outliner. We want to grab the character at the hips. I want to grab the body. And the head. We're going to skin, bind skin, hit the little magic box. We're going to bind to the joint hierarchy rather than selected joints. And before we were doing bind method closest in hierarchy, what we want to use, it looks relatively new to me, is Geodesic Voxel. Really cool sounding thing. Could be the good band name. We're going to go to classic linear, and for whatever reason in the video, he upped his resolution to 512. We're just going to follow along and do the same. And everything else should be about the same. Normalized weights, this is interactive, weight distribution. Okay, whatever. We'll leave that. Bind skin and cross our fingers. And voxelizing model at 25%. We're doing something. So we'll give that a few minutes. What you don't know is 25% is where we got to last time when it crashed and burned. So maybe that resolution isn't doing us any favors. But we'll give it a few minutes. So what the geodesic voxel or voxelizing seems to do is before when we were producing weights for each of our bones, basically the bones just kind of cast out an arbitrary envelope, and so everything within that sphere of influence got sucked in, and the bone said, "Okay, I control all of you now." And so what the voxelizing or the geodesic voxel, which I believe is a combination of volume and pixel, 25% still, is it basically goes out from the bone and almost like ray casting. It goes out and finds the inside of the mesh and kind of fills that in with this imaginary pixels or blocks or voxels. Looked like 25 moved, and then it didn't. All right. Anyway, so it kind of fills that in and goes just to the edges of the mesh without bleeding out. So now when I move the left leg bone, it should have no effect on the right leg bone, no matter how close it is, because it's only gone out to the edge of the mesh. And so if this just keeps spinning, then we're going to have no choice but to try it again. Look at this. Maya is not responding. Imagine that. No. I changed my mind. Don't force quit just yet. We'll give it a few minutes. Just for giggles, I'm going to empty my trash can. Clear off some space. I deleted some files, didn't empty my trash, so it didn't do me any good earlier. I'm wondering if I'm running out of hard drive space. All right, we're going to force quit and come and pick up right here in just a sec. Okay, so third time's the charm. I did just successfully get it to do our geodesic voxel rigging or skin binding. What I did this time around was when I went to skin, I left that resolution at 256, which I'm going to guess, took half the space. I don't know what exactly we were doing. Had all these settings going. And this time around, I skinned or bound the skin just to the body, since we were going to undo the head anyway. So the body has been bound. We haven't tested that yet. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the head. And then I'm going to Command, Control, whatever, Shift. There we go. So I've got the head and the head node and the head mesh. And I'm going to use all the same settings. Or am I? Classic linear was fine. We just want to go to the selected joints with this. We use the voxel again. We use linear. And this may have messed us up. If that max influence was just on one the last time around, that may have dorked us. We'll try this. Bind skin, voxelizing model. Of course, now we lock up like we were before. So my computer cannot voxelize while recording video. Okay, we're not crying about not responding yet. Give it a minute. Again. There we go. All right, and now here's one more piece of the puzzle, right? And so right now I could grab this leg and I could move him around. right? And that dorks our model hard, and doesn't behave at all the way a leg should. So Command Z. So here's the magic piece of the puzzle. I grab that reference and I'm over here. I want this guy. What I want to do, instead of moving the model around, which that should have been locked anyway, is I want to grab the source and I just want to use the control rig. So now I've got this cool thing, and whatever I grab should move within the constraints of what a kind of your typical human body would do. So pull that out, and that's just, look, you can see as far as he can kick there, and it doesn't go just berserk. Let's try the head. Yeah, you couldn't just pull your head off. That works. But we can turn. Okay, so we did get the desired effect on our head, where it just kind of acts like a little action figure head and moves along with the body. Just moves along that one node. And again, using the control rig. It's not our head. That's cool. I may have to redo this because I only wanted 1 instead of 5 when I was doing the body, which I didn't really want to do. Of number of controls. Yeah, and so all of our vertices are weighted very rigidly, just like our head was, to just one bone. But if you do this and you set that setting at 5, we should be fine. Anyway, this was just to prove we could do it, and to kind of use the control rig for testing our rig instead of messing with the bones. If we're still wanting to approximate an action figure, this wouldn't be bad. So that's where we're at. Please make sure as you're doing this to again on bind skin, make sure your max influence is above 1. Let's go back to the regular 5 and do that. I'm going to redo mine and just see how it works. But I'll leave you off here. We've got another bit of tutorial to do this week around smoothing, and between this and the Deadpool video that we kind of got our information from, I think that's going to keep us pretty busy. Okay, just because I couldn't leave well enough alone, I went back and rebound my skin with a 5 maximum influences on the body and then 1 on the head, kind of as we did before, or thought we did before. And now I'm going to use my control rig, get that set up. Zoom in here. Let me just make sure this is being all cool. All right, so bend that down. Much nicer. See, we've got that max influences in the Geodesic Voxel. I'm never going to be able to get over that word. And we appear to have a really, really good animation. Huh. Knees don't want to bend, but other than that, things seem to be fine. There we go. All right. Woohoo, we got a jump. I twisted his legs up quite a bit down there, but he looks good. And this button right here does the same thing as before. It gets us back to our stance, or at least down to the ground. Then we can go back to the unbind pose once I select the mesh. Interesting. So go to bind pose, back here. Show hide skeleton. There's a lot more toys, a lot more things to be done here. Go back to unbind, or go back to bound pose. Appears to just move our mesh and the skeleton, doesn't affect the control rig. So now that we've got the control rig and we've jerked this guy around, as it were, we may be stuck. Let me try this. Yeah, I know what that is. There we go. Now we can go back. That gets us back to square one. Turn my control rig back on, and that gets us back there. So whatever we do to the control rig appears to be something that sticks around. Cool. Anyway, good to know. This does appear to be much easier than what we were doing before. If you still want to play with vertex weighting and that kind of thing, then look it up, knock yourself out. That's something valuable to know, and we may be doing it in our next character. But for now, we've got a good solution. We're going to go with it.